So good morning for you. It's very late in the evening for myself. I'm based in Brazil, actually, and I think that's the first exponential learning that we have in this session, is that I'm here and you are there, or maybe spread throughout the globe, and we're still managing to connect ourselves, something that would be like impossible a few years ago. And that's really cool. So I'm really excited to be here tonight. I'm the CEO of Metanoia Digital. Metanoia is an old Greek word that means changing one's mind. And I believe we need to change our minds toward the impact that digital is having on our lives, on our social behaviors, on our companies, and all this. So the whole goal of today's talk is to present you the 4 principles to ride on this new exponential transformation wave, and what digital has anything to do with it. So thank you very much for the presence of all of you. And I'll start sharing my screen. As Rosalie mentioned, for those of you who registered, we'll have a quick activity by the end in the Miro platform, which is a very cool digital whiteboard. And so please register so you can access it. And then there's a content over there that you can enjoy after the session. So let's go. For now, I'll be sharing a keynote presentation, some slides, and then we move to Miro to continue the session. And let's go. Let's check this out. So exponential transformation. Welcome to this new world of exponential transformation. What does that mean? That's what we're going to discover. And I want you to think about if you know one of those 3 companies, or maybe the 3 companies, they're really famous companies. Please write on the chat or on your comments on Facebook, so the team from Magic can tell me how we're going, if you guys know this company or doesn't. I would love to know that before we actually go deep dive into the content. So just say yes, the 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and I'll check it out here on the chat. Yes, we have already an answer. Yes, the 3, all the 3 of them. Very cool. Okay, so now who knows those 3 companies over here? Or at least 1, 2, maybe. If you know, you can add there. So, okay, 1, most people saying Kaggle. It's one of the most famous one in this group. And what is interesting is that, you know, those 3 companies before, those 3 here, they're very traditional companies. And although Johnson & Johnson is still one of the largest companies in the world, the other 2, they're losing a lot of market, a lot of valuation and all this. And those 3 companies over here, they're 3 of the most exponential organizations we have ever mapped in our assessment. I'm part of the OpenEXO network, which is a network of global consultants and innovation experts that work with the exponential organization framework. And we analyze companies, you know, startups, Fortune 500 companies and all this. And those 3 are 3 of the top 20 most exponential companies we have ever seen. To give you guys a glimpse, Kaggle, it's a AI platform for like contest. So companies from all over the world, they can create a challenge in the platform, and developers from all over the world can help solve that challenge. SHAPEWAYS is a platform for 3D printing. So if you build like a 3D model and you want someone to print, and you have like a customer, I don't know, in Ukraine, Europe, you can send your 3D design to someone with a 3D printer in Ukraine, and that person is going to print for you and deliver to your customer over there. So you don't have like logistics costs, you know. And finally, Kiva is a micro lender to entrepreneurs. So people in vulnerable areas all over the world, you know, in Middle East, Africa, Asia, Latin America, etc., can get a micro lending to start a business. So it's a really impactful business, and it's completely mobile application. And what's really interesting is that they managed to reach so many people, especially in Africa, because the banking system there is really complicated to build, because you have so many tribes that are really far away from big cities and all this. But they have mobile access, they have smartphones, which is a little weird, but that's the truth. So Kiva managed to help several micro entrepreneurs in those very different scenarios. So what's interesting is that most business schools, by this day, they're still teaching us how to build those kinds of companies over here. And they're not teaching us how to build those companies. And that's the whole goal of this series that we'll be running during this month here with Magic. So the 4 principles that I want to bring for you guys is, the first one is exponential mindset. The first thing we need to have in this new age is to learn how to think in an exponential way. So if you remember math classes, we usually spoke about exponential, which is like that curve, the hockey stick curve, you know, where you have a long tail and then you simply grow, you know, a lot. That's exponential on mathematics. And I'll try to clarify for you why is this so important. So the first thing we need to understand is that we are not living in an age where things change a lot. We're living in a change of age. And those are 2 very different concepts. And why is this important? Let's understand history to understand where we are today. So many historians and futurists and experts on technologies and all this, they say that mankind is going through just the 3rd big revolution that we have ever experienced. The first big revolution, and all those revolutions, they're tech-based. So society changes when technology changes. And there's a famous philosopher that once said, you know, man makes the tools and the tools make the man. So what happens is, back in the past, like thousands of years ago, we were nomads. So we got into a land, we consumed all the resources over there, all the raw materials. And once it finished, we didn't know how to plant and to, you know, have plants and control animals and all this. So we needed to move to somewhere else. So the whole world, people, small civilizations, they were all nomads. At some point, someone created a tool. And that tool was first a shovel, so you can dig the ground. And with that tool, you could put seeds in the ground and plant for the first time. And that was the agricultural revolution. And when that happened, men didn't need to be nomad anymore. We didn't need to move to one place, from one place to the other. We could stay on the same place and actually build a society over there and have control of the animals, because now we had food to feed them. And we can actually control other human beings that didn't have the technology but needed food. So we started like a new society, a new way to organize ourselves. And that brought us the city states, and then the big empires. And the Roman Empire was a very famous one, the Mongol Empire, and all those different empires came from the agricultural revolution, because of the agricultural revolution. And we spent several thousands of years like living basically the same thing. We needed to plant. Some people were skilled to build some easy to use tools and not very high-tech tools. But mostly what we did was like planting, taking iron and metals and all this from the ground, and we lived like this. And it's really interesting when we see like transportation in this time. For thousands and thousands of years, we were moving with horses, camels, and then someone created like a carriage to go behind the horse or the camel, etc. And after thousands of years, we got into the Industrial Revolution, and the Industrial Revolution completely changed the landscape of the world. We didn't need to have this dependency of raw materials anymore, because now we had machines to produce stuff for us, and those machines managed to produce in a large scale. So the government, like the kings and the big lands, they weren't that important anymore. The important was to have the factory and the industry, and to actually produce and transform that raw material. So we see that empires, and basically most empires ended, and we moved to a different way in several different countries all over the world. We moved to nations, democratic nations, different political system, and all this because of the Industrial Revolution, because of this massive change. Mainly in Europe, that was really impacted by the Roman Empire and all this. Everything changed a lot, and we can say quickly. And when we think about transportation again, and our cities completely changed, right? Now we had like trains and rails, and we had streets for cars and all this. And in the transportation way, we moved from the horse and the camel and the carriage for several thousands of years. And in just 200 years, we built the train, the car, the motorcycle, the plane. We went to the moon, and we came back in just 200 years. So this was a massive transformation. And now those historians and those experts are saying that we're just living the third big revolution, which is the digital revolution. And I don't need to explain it a lot for you, because we're seeing it in our daily lives. You know, this event is a great example of it. You can order food. You know, nowadays with the pandemics, we can still work from home. In the past, that would be impossible. You know, how would we be working? Because of the digital revolution, we have all those new possibilities. And what's really interesting in this understanding is the way of the shape of this curve. Because what we see is that we took thousands of years to have the agricultural revolution, and then thousands of years to go from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution. But then we just took a few centuries to move from the industrial revolution into the digital revolution. So what we're seeing is that the timing for changes of ages is reducing. So probably in the future, we have a few decades for the next revolution, and maybe a few years. Can you imagine living in a world where, like, I don't know, every 2 years, we have a new technology so powerful as the internet coming by and completely transforming our lives? It's crazy to think, how can we live there, you know? And right now, we have no idea which one will be the next big revolution, but we have some hints. We have artificial intelligence growing a lot. We have blockchain, we have nanotechnology, and many of those revolutions are potential revolutions, as impactful as the digital revolution is being for us right now. So it's really a powerful moment, because if you think about it, like my grandparents, when they were my age, they weren't living through a big revolution like this one. My great-grandparents, they didn't live like nothing. It was like the same life from everybody who went through the industrial revolution. So we are very like blessed people, because we are here during the digital revolution, and I believe we have a purpose to be here right now. So, but if you're still don't believe that, too much. You still need more data to prove this change of the digital revolution. Let's check it out. The market value of the 10 largest companies in the world. And in the left, we have back in 2009, and in the right, we have 2019. And I see three things that are really interesting in this chart. If you want to comment in the chat or in the comments on Facebook, feel free. But the question that I have for you guys is, how many companies we can consider that are digital in 2009, and how many are not digital in 2019? You see that the question changed, right? So I'll wait a little bit for your comments. And there are two other things that are really impactful in those two charts. So if you can highlight anything, I'll wait a little bit for your comments on the chat. But moving forward, as we can see, in 2009, the only company that we can actually call a digital company is Microsoft, okay? And by 2019, we have like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, the parent company from Google, Facebook, Alibaba, Tencent. They're all digital companies. So we only have actually three companies over here that are not digital: Berkshire Hathaway, investment fund from Warren Buffett, Johnson & Johnson, and ExxonMobil. So yeah, that's crazy, right, Mohammed? Perfect. Oil going down, tech going up. Perfect comment from Arif. So digital is dominating the landscape, but there are two other things that are really impactful. The big topic, the big conversation around news outlets and global companies and consulting firms and all this in 2009 was globalization. And as we can see, we have several different countries represented here in 2009. But right now in 2019, 20, 21, what we are seeing in the world and what we are experiencing is mostly polarization. So people are getting divided. Here in Brazil, we have a president that is dividing the nation. And US, we just saw a new election because the former president, he was dividing the globe. You know, it's US versus China, is I don't know who versus someone else. It's haters on social media versus influencers. So we have this polarization all over the world in several different landscapes. And we can clearly see this on the companies. USA, and China, they managed to understand the importance of the digital revolution. And they managed to build companies that are going to dominate this landscape for a few years to come. And actually, I can think of any other two countries that could have representatives here. And that's really scary, right? Because here we had a much more heterogeneous world, and here we have a very homogeneous world. So it's really complicated that. But the thing that amazes me the most, and I don't know if you realize that, is the numbers. So ExxonMobil, the #1 company in 2009, was worth $300 billion. And Microsoft, the #1 in 2019, is 3 times larger. As we can see, ExxonMobil improved a little bit, maybe, you know, compensating the inflation in the US, probably just that. But as we can see, all other digital companies, they grew by several times. Because if Alphabet is not here, so it was worth less than $170 billion, and is worth here $800 billion. So it grew by, I don't know, 8 times, right? It's an amazing growth. And if you're still not into it, not into digital, think about this. In 2018, Apple became the first company, I believe it was around August, the first company to reach $1 trillion in market cap. and stay there for a while. And 2 months before that, in June, GE, General Electric, the company that Thomas Edison founded when he created like the lamp and all this, a really powerful company that helped us move through the Industrial Revolution, got booted from the Dow Jones industry, which is one of the indexes from the New York Stock Exchange. So this is a very impactful event. You know, one company that was a big representative from the industrial era moved out from the index, and the digital company, the leading digital company in the world, got to $1 trillion in the same year. Amazing, right? That for me clarifies how digital is transforming our lives. But if you're still trying to understand what does this have anything to do with Exponential, check this out. In 2020, Apple came from 2019, $895 billion of market cap to 2.2 trillion. They almost tripled in 1 year. Microsoft almost doubled in 1 year, as with Amazon and Alphabet, who grew a lot. Facebook almost tripled. Tencent and Alibaba almost tripled. Tesla grew by 10x. So this is really the power of exponential organizations. And throughout the series here with Magic, my goal is to add your logo into this chart. And I hope you can join us on the upcoming events so we can ride this wave together. Now, one thing that we can realize then is what this guy already told us back in 2014, that every organization designed to succeed in the 20th century is doomed to fail in the 21st century. Why? Because we have the internet, because we have the computer. And the computer suffers something that we call the Moore's Law. So Moore was the CEO of Intel, the chip maker, and he realized, he did some math and some studies, and he realized that the power, I'll try to summarize what he realized, Moore's Law. So the power of the computer double each 24 months. That was basically what he told us. And right now, this number is shrinking a little bit. People are telling us that we're kind of like doubling every 28 months or something like that, but we're still doubling. And the power of exponential, when you multiply things, it's what really matters. Because nowadays, everything that we do, it's on a computer, right? So you do anything with the computer. If you want to talk to your grandma, you probably take your smartphone, which is a computer, to talk to her. If you want to do a meeting, just like we're doing, a webinar or anything, we're using computers. If you want to watch a movie, you probably turn on your smart TV, which is a computer, and you watch a movie. Someone is designing a new clothes for the next fashion season. They're designing these clothes on the computer. Car manufacturing companies, they're using robots to build new cars. So we're using computers for everything. And if computers, they double their power each 24 months, we also need to double our growth as society and our technologies and the way that we build businesses and all this. But let's understand mathematically what does exponential actually means. When we think linear, we have the arithmetic progression where it says you need to add things, right? So if I give a 1 meter step and I said that every other step that I give is a 2 meters step, and I'll do 30 linear steps, I'll walk a distance of 63 meters, okay? Now, if I go to exponential where I have to multiply, and I said, my first step is going to be 1 meter, but every other step, I'll be doubling that. So 1 meter, 2 meters, 4 meters, 8 meters, 16 meters, 32 meters, so on and so forth. And if I give 30 exponential steps, I move 1 billion meters, which means 26 turns around the Earth. That's the power of exponential. But you only harness this power if you use computer inside your industry, because you can actually build a small business. You can have a good life and impact your community and have a nice business, a good business. But if you don't use the power of computer systems, the power of the internet, different softwares that can empower your project and all this, you will never harness this power over here. And when we think about that, let's take for instance Deal. If you hop on my YouTube, I can share the link later on. I made an analysis from this startup called Deal, and Deal is a system for global payroll payment. So you need to pay people, and you have people all over the world. This is a software that concentrates all the payments in only one place. They were born last year during the pandemics in 2020. They're already a unicorn. They're worth $1.25 billion. And they have customers in 150 countries, and they operate with 120 currencies in just 1 year. That's amazing, right? That's crazy. Okay. Why? Because they use the power of computers. They use the exponential potential of Moore's law. Now, what we realize then is that anything, added a computer to it, and you're going to completely change the industry. Every industry in the last 20 years of the digital revolution has been disrupted by the use of computers in some scenarios, just like the camera industry. In 2010, we got to the peak selling year of cameras all over the world, 121 million cameras. And in 2018, we sold 19 million cameras, almost a tenth of 8 years before that. Why? Because we created the smartphone, and the smartphone added a computer inside the camera. And nowadays, the lenses and the AI that empowers the smartphone are so good that many photographers are ditching traditional digital cameras towards the smartphone. You can take good, high quality pictures, high quality videos. You can post online in real time. You can do live streaming and all this. And traditional cameras can't, right? So every industry is being disrupted by the addition of computers. And here's a cool example of an augmented reality system to avoid production errors. And this system guides the person trying to build this this engine through augmented reality, this light guided system and all this. So it explains for the person which power to use on that tool and which specific product they need to use or tool they need to use. So he's highlighting that equipment. It needs to go over there. So you have basically an error-proof production system. You know, people basically don't make any mistakes. If you try to put anything in a place that it doesn't fit, the system will give you an alert. So this is a way to add computer into the manufacturing plant. And that's basically how we work with the exponential mindset. So grasp that if you add the computer to your daily life somehow in your company, you have a potential to grow exponentially. The second principle is cognitive flexibility. And what does that actually mean? Well, cognitive flexibility is your capacity to change because of the changes that are going around you. So first thing you need to have is awareness of the changes happening, the confidence that you can live in this new environment, and finally, you get to adaptability. Those three things combined will give you cognitive flexibility. And I have a picture here that are really important for most Westerns and people in Europe. So the Catholic Church has this great leader called the Pope. And this is the event where they named the new Pope back in 2005 on the top. And in the picture in the bottom, 2013, the election of the new Pope. And we can see how digital is completely changing society. We have one like futurist over here in this picture on the top trying to take a picture with his old phone, you know, or calling someone or something like that. And you can go to any venue, sports events, concert, music events, or anything, and we will see the same difference. Before the digital revolution, the smartphone revolution, and after the smartphone revolution, everything changed. But what is really interesting is that if we have this same event right now without the pandemics, we would be seeing the same picture as of 2013. People holding the smartphones to broadcast the event or to take pictures or anything. So this picture proves that we're going through a change of age. And this change of age is going for several years now. Think about this. I don't know how big Waze is in Malaysia or Southeast Asia, but here in Latin America, and I know that in US and Europe, it's really huge, is the GPS app, right? And I've been using Waze for 10 years now. So we came from like printed maps, and then we moved to GPS on our cars with memory sticks that we needed to have different maps and etc. And we moved to the smartphone right after it. And now we're in the smartphone for several years now. Excel, you know, the sheet software from Microsoft, where you can do calculations and stuff. It dates back from the 80s. We already had Excel to do those kinds of accounting and finance stuff. Back in the 80s, nothing changed from there until now. And now the only change we're seeing in a software like that is moving to the cloud. So we're living in a change of age, and this change has started several decades ago and is still going. And the real understanding that we need to have with the cognitive flexibility is that right now, there are many things that we are realizing that we can add to the internet or making like a digital twin of it. And that's why we think that everything is changing so much and so fast. But actually, what is happening is that everything is changing towards digital. At some point, everything will have been changed to digital, and we will live in a more smooth way. But then again, there's another revolution coming by, whether blockchain or artificial intelligence, etc. So our lives are going to get faster and faster, and changes are going to move faster and faster. And why is that? Why is that so important? And to understand this picture is so important, because right now we are living in the biggest populational growth we have ever experienced. Not in the growth rate, as we can see in this curve that we're actually dropping, but in absolute numbers. So the jump we have from now to 2050 is the largest ever we are going to see in human history. And why is that important? If we associate this with this board on the right, with this chart on the right, that shows how is our demographics right now, we can see that the 20 to 24, those are the digital natives. And if we sum all those percentages here from the 2024 up until newborn people, newborn kids, we'll have almost 40% of the global population. And why is that important? So we're seeing the largest growth on human population, and everybody that is being born in this new age, they're digital natives. So they're used to look at their TVs, clicking one button and choose their movies, going into a bank through their smartphones and clicking to do transferring, to pay stuff, and etc. Go to the internet to buy anything, learn anything from YouTube or TikTok. It's a completely different workforce that is going inside our companies. They're used to play video games, not play on the streets. So once they join a company, they don't want to have like this repetitive work and all this. They want to be fully engaged in an activity so exciting as the video game. That's why it's so important for us to understand the impact of the digital native and the populational growth that we're living in. Okay, and what does that mean for companies, right? Yesterday we used to work like this, very repetitive way, not collaborative. The focus was to repeat the processes every day, so it became very predictable. This picture I took in the headquarters of Zappos, which is a very famous shoe e-commerce platform that was bought by Amazon several years ago. And this is their headquarters. And what we can see here is a lot of collaboration, a lot of creativity, a lot of connection between people, and not doing the same thing every day, actually creating new stuff each and every day. That's the first difference. But how does industrial works and how does digital works? So industrial is fully focused on production. The most important thing is the product that is coming out of the manufacturing line. Because the product is the most important thing, we do anything that is feasible, but that doesn't mean the customers want or the market needs it. And because of that, we need to push that into the market, into the consumer. And because we do anything that is feasible, we're using the scientific method to build things. We have a hypothesis, we create a solution for it, we validate. That's the scientific method. So the hypotheses come from us, and we use the consumers as rat laboratory, right? So those users, those consumers, they look at us and they try to grasp, they give us hint if the product is good or not, and that's basically it. And because of that, because the product is the most important thing, we have a really focus on the core business of the company. And the core business is the product. Car manufacturers do cars. Real estate developers do buildings, and so on and so forth. Now, when we go to digital, the focus is not anymore on the product, it's on the access. People don't want to own, they want to have the access to it. We see that with Airbnb, Uber, and so many different companies that brought this new era of access economy. Because we're giving them access to things, we only produce what is valuable. Because it doesn't mean that it's feasible, is valuable. But if people are looking for the access of that, that becomes valuable. And because it's valuable, it gets pulled by the market. The market pulls the solution. And to build that, we go through the humanistic method, where we're not using the customer as a rat in a laboratory, but we're building our solutions with the customer. We go to them, we understand their needs, we ask them, then we hypothesize, and then we create new solutions. And because we're giving access to people, we work on the basis of purpose. It doesn't matter anymore the core business of the company, because I can build whatever I want as long as it's connected to my purpose. We see that Amazon is a great example. It's an e-commerce. It's the largest music streaming. It's one of the largest video streaming companies. It's the largest ebook company. It's the largest cloud computing company, and so on and so forth, right? And they recently launched the satellite in space. You know, who could think of a bookstore that sends a satellite into space? It doesn't make any sense. It makes if we think digital instead of industrial, if we think purpose instead of core business, if we think access instead of production, right? And this change, and that's why we need to have cognitive flexibility. This change also changed our quality control parameters, because my mom used to say, hey, don't get inside the car of a stranger back in 1998 when I was a teenager. And in 2008, when I started using more and more the internet, she usually told me, hey, don't meet those people you're meeting online. Don't go by yourself if you're going to meet them in person. And right now, what we're doing, we're getting a ride alone with a stranger from the internet. That's actually what Uber does. So we see a huge behavior shift. And for digital natives, as I mentioned before, this is regular. You know, no parent nowadays will say, hey, don't get in a car with a stranger, especially one from the internet. We simply changed our behaviors because of the impact of digital technologies. And what is also changing is the way that we communicate and the way companies need to communicate with their customers. And in the past, in the industrial age, we usually have this wolf-based communication. We have the alpha leader, and it's a big corporation. It goes to a big TV channel, and one company talks to the customer, talks to the public. So we have a communication that is one to many. And because of this communication is one to many, you need to build inside your company a structure that have layers of hierarchy. So one CEO talks to the VP of marketing and the VP of operations, etc. Because of that, this really hierarchical model, we needed to do human curation. What is that? So one person inside the company would decide which products were good for the company to build. That's human curation. We decide. One person decides. And because we didn't have many technologies and we still have these layers of hierarchy and a very complicated way of producing things and all this, we needed to do sample control. Okay, this TV episode for a show is good. Let's go. Let's have it. This car is good. So all this car from the same stock is working fine. We needed to do sample control. Right now with digital, we're moving towards an ant-like communication. And what is that? It's actually, we leave trails on digital platforms. So you go to Uber, you ride a car with someone, or to Grab or any other platform, and you ride the car with someone and you give them 5 stars. You leave a trail. So many other people will go to that restaurant or will go to that host in Airbnb or will ride that car with Grab or Uber, and they are not deciding that because of one company telling them to do that. They're deciding that because many people left their trails inside the digital platform and now they're making decisions. So the ant-based communication is many to many, and we don't have hierarchy anymore. What we have is contextual leadership. So one person is a leader in a given moment, the other person is a leader in other moment. You're a leader to make people want to read some book that you reviewed on Amazon or on Goodreads. Then you become their leaders, right? And because digital is getting more and more powerful, right now, what we have is algorithm-based curation. So it's not humans anymore that decide what should we be watching or doing or anything. It's the algorithm that says to us. And right now, with the improvements on artificial intelligence technology, we have full control. So every video that goes into YouTube platform is analyzed by their artificial intelligence. There are no sample controls over there. And if the artificial intelligence has any doubts about it, it takes to a human. That's the real power of ant-like communication. Now, let's see the difference and the impact this have. TV3 is like the largest TV channel in Malaysia, right? It has a 5.3 million viewers. Wolf-like communication, okay? One editor decides what's going to the daily content in the platform. A few big companies can make advertisement inside the platform. Wolf-like, alpha leader deciding what we should be consuming. Netflix is kind of like in the middle. Many people leave their trails on what is nice to watch, but there's still one editor inside the company that decides what is going inside the platform itself. They have 250 million subscribers. It's a lot more than TV3 can actually get it, right? And finally, when we go all the way to the ant-like communication, we have YouTube. Anybody posts any video inside YouTube, and it's the public that watches the video, that gives likes or dislikes, that makes comments, and that gives views to those videos, that really makes other people watch those videos. So it's contextual leadership, many-to-many communication, and anyone can post any video inside the platform. Ant-like communication, you have 2.5 billion users, 10 times larger than Netflix. So it's really uncomparable. One of the things for you to think about your company or your startup is how can I move from this wolf-like communication towards this ant-like communication. And we have several other technologies that are going to help us to do like this AI full control, such as YOLO, which is a computer vision technology that will help us decide what we have to do. It's the same technology that has been used by Tesla cars to make it more autonomous, right? And as you can see here, it checks it out, plants, cars, and animals, and all that in real time. It can understand each element real time, okay? Which is quite cool. Here it got a mistake, so it's trying to learn that it's not a dog, it's actually a cat. So it goes back and forth, cat or dog. It's trying to decide and learn with time. So this is the power of artificial intelligence completely transforming our lives. Now, moving forward, the third principle that we have is service thinking. And service thinking means what? The value of goods is not in the goods itself, is not to have something, but the service that things provides. So if I own a cup, I don't want the cup, I want to drink the water, and I want a recipient that can make me drink water. So I'm not buying the cup for the cup, but because of the service that it renders to me, it provides me. And when we think about services, the first thing we need to realize is that when we move to services, we move to relationships. And relationships, they're not like one moment only. They're not like pictures, they're movies. Relationship is something moving and flowing. And after we move from services that are relational based, we're right now looking more and more into experiences. And when we think about experience, we need to understand customer journey. And I've been working for a few years now with the concept of the minimum valuable experience, because I don't believe in minimum viable product. because people don't want the product, they want the service, or better yet, they want the experience behind that product. And not everything that is viable is actually valuable for the customer. So I think we need to move to change this concept from MVP towards MVE, the minimum valuable experience. And when we think about companies like GrabFood, DoorDash, or Rappi here in Latin America, what they're really experts in doing is to understand the relationship of their customer with the challenge they're trying to solve. So here I have a very simple example of me trying to go to a dinner. So I ask my wife, let's go to the dinner. What type of food do we want? Which restaurant are we going? How are we going? Car, Uber, public transport, etc. If you go by car, does it have a parking? Can I pay the parking with credit card, digital transfer, or I need to take cash with me, whatever. So I got into the restaurant. Now is the time for the dinner. We got a table. We need to make a reservation before. We receive the menu. We choose our food. We make the order. We eat, we pay, and we go back home. That's a basic customer journey, and is how the customer experience the dining experience, right? What those companies did, GrabFood and DoorDash, is that they completely changed the first part of this experience by digitizing just a small piece of this experience. So they didn't think, how can I digitize food? It's impossible right now, right? We're still eating with forks and plates and hashis and all this. So we're still eating real stuff, like physical stuff. So we can't digitize that. I can't digitize the car. I still need to move and to go to the restaurant, etc. I can't digitize the parking system, right? I can't digitize the discussion with my wife. So they looked at all this and they realized, what can we digitize inside this experience? The menu. We can digitize the menu and how you make the order. That's something that we can actually put the computer power on it. And once they did that, they completely changed the discussion of the food because of the ant-like communication that I mentioned to you before. Because right now, I don't choose the food that I want, like, oh, what I'm going to eat today. I probably go inside DoorDash or GrabFood or any other delivery platform, and I'll see how many ratings does that place have and which one gives me the best experience. The faster delivery, most cashback or discount, right? So the focus now is not anymore on me deciding things, but it's people deciding things for me. And when people decide things for me, they're only going to decide if that place has a good UX, a good user experience. If you don't have a good user experience right now, you're doomed, because it's a good customer experience or good user experience that will make other people vote for your company to leave their trail, that your company, your restaurant, your app, your software, your whatever is good. So other people can make the decision. The communication right now doesn't matter anymore if you're in Facebook ads or anything. The most important thing is that more people give votes to your solution. And that thing over here to really focus on one slice, one small piece of the customer journey is what we call unbundling the user experience. And unbundling is happening throughout industries. Here's an example on the banking system. And the banking system is being unbundled by several different startups all over the world. Each country has its own, and it's disrupting the traditional financial system. And I have a huge, very nice experience here in Brazil with Nubank. Nubank is right now, I believe, the second or first largest fintech startup in the world. They're planning an IPO by December this year, and their potential valuation is larger than the top 3 banks here in Brazil. And what did they do? They unbundled the bank experience to focus on the credit card. They completely changed the customer experience with an app and the credit card associated to it. And right now is the largest bank in Brazil on numbers of customers and users of digital applications. It's a really powerful company. They have just like 7 years, which is even more amazing. I'm one of their first customers and I'm really happy. And I never looked back. They don't have any fees or anything. It's really an amazing case. And in my YouTube channel, there's an analysis from this company. And finally, the fourth principle is collaboration. We can only survive the exponential transformation if we collaborate. And the first thing we need to understand is the closer we are from co-creating things, bringing customer in and creating stuff with them, the more they're involved with this change that we are proposing. Okay, so the best way to create things is to co-create them with your users. Okay, and why is that? One of the reasons is because we have so many different people working together to co-create things. You have different skills in the same room, in the same place, to think about a new creative solution. That's why it's so important. And then those of you who have registered and are going to ride inside the Miro board, I left an activity I'll explain by the end of this webinar. But the idea is that you go in there and you tell us which of those skills that are some of the top 10 skills for the professional of the future you need to improve the most. Okay, but we'll be doing that by the end of the session. And how do you co-create? Well, probably the best method to co-creation right now is design thinking. And I know Magic runs several workshops and have had a lot of people who have run webinars here and made several events around this concept. And basically what the design thinking says, first you discover with people what are their problems, you work alongside them to understand their needs. Then you define a potential problem, a real problem, you have a good definition. Then you develop a solution and you deliver that solution into the market. In this development phase, one of the best practices that we have inside the design thinking is to call people to a co-creation session. And what can we build in those co-creation sessions? Here's a cool example, but a daily case for most of us. Car owner's manual are like thick books that are really heavy and you never find the stuff you need, right? You have a problem in your car, some lights go out in your panel and your dashboard and all this, and you never know what's happening. You never find in the car owner's manual. And it's actually a very expensive product inside a car. Here in Brazil, it costs car manufacturers something like $20 to produce one of those car owners manual. So Renault, which is a French car manufacturer that has a base here in Brazil, they were producing this new car called Kwid, and it's a low-cost vehicle. And one of the things that was bothering them was the cost of this car owner's manual. So they created a new temporary squad to work on a co-creation session. So they had like engineers, they had people from the legal department, people from finance, several different people from different areas, a very cross-functional squad. And they tried to design a new car owner's manual, which is the one that you're seeing the cover here. And what they actually did was they reduced a lot of the car owner's manual based on what the law allowed them to do. That's why the legal person inside that squad. And everything else, they added QR codes inside the car owner's manual. And with the QR code, you could scan the QR code, you go to a web page with a video of an engineer explaining what was happening to your car. So it's not only a phygital experience, omni-channel experience for the customer, but it's also a better experience because you don't have to read this stuff and you don't understand anything. And the QR code also had the session with the video. You could also like ask for a maintenance or help from the company itself. So they managed to reduce the size of the car owner's manual, reduce the cost, and improve the customer experience. That's the power of co-creation. And this is another very interesting case, also related to computer vision. It's Bilberry. Bilberry is a startup from France, and what they actually were doing, they were using computer vision to understand which kind of weeds in farms. And instead of just spraying pesticides to solve a weed problem inside of the farm, you have like high precision pesticide spotting in this system. It's really cool. The cameras, they film, take images, live images from the weeds, and they send to the system, and the tractors or the machines that are moving there, they do precision spotting of pesticides. So you have environmental impact over there, being reduced the use of pesticides. You have cost efficiency, and actually you have a co-creation because this was created with a big pesticide company, with the tractor company. So all those companies, they came together to create this new system. It's really impactful. It's being used a lot on Canada right now, in the US, Europe. It's also being used on railway roads because weeds sometimes go over the rails, so that's a problem for trains. And in the past, what they were doing, trains would go with the pesticide and they would throw pesticide all along the railway. And now with this technology, they can avoid throwing that much pesticide along different places. And sometimes if you had a bridge or a river or something, you would throw pesticides inside the river and then pollute the river, which is very dangerous for our health. And this company solved that problem. So when we think about co-creation right now with digital technologies, we're moving towards an API economy. So right now, many companies, they don't do anything. Think about Uber or Grab, for instance. They're mostly a user interface that connects several different APIs. Is the payment system APIs, Google Maps APIs, etc. So all those APIs connected, and you do digital co-creation. If you connect several different technologies, you have this new co-creation way of doing things. So here are the 4 principles for us to move on this exponential transformation age. And when we connect them all together, one thing that we realize is that software is eating the world. So the future is on software, not on hardware. And when we think about that, when we move outside hardware, brick and mortar stores and manufacturing plants and all this, we get to those kind of results. And Financial is a 15-year-old company. They have a much better user experience, as we can see on this table. And they have 10 times more customers than Bank of America, for example, which is a 95-year-old company, right? Amazing, amazing difference. Better user experience. No problem with the COVID pandemics because they didn't have any branch that were closed. Every worker working from home as usual. It didn't change anything for them. And 10 times more customers than one of the largest banks in the world. So we're seeing an unprecedented technological conversion. And that's really important for us moving forward with the exponential transformation. And when we think about technological conversion, we see disruption. This company, Wi-Fi Map, I met the CEO of this company inside an Uber. So we shared the same ride and we started talking and all this. What these guys do is that they give you free Wi-Fi through the routers of other people. So people go inside the platform, they say, hey, I want to route my 4G connection so other people can connect with me, and I make a small fee from that. And they have right now 250 customers all over the world, many different countries, and they have 10 employees. Can you believe that? That's crazy, right? How can you manage 250 million customers with just 10 employees? That's amazing, right? This is another technological conversion that I've been seeing, and that I'm working with companies like big energy transmission companies and all this, trying to wrap their minds around it. On the top left, we have the growth. This black curve is the growth of solar panels all over the world. So more and more people are going into solar energy. On the right, we have the global smartphone shipments. So more and more people connected to the internet and buying stuff from e-commerce platforms. On the bottom left, we have the growth of the sale of 3D printing machines. And on the bottom right, we have the growth of products being sold through 3D printing. So when we connect one thing to the other, what we realize, one of the key drivers of energy are industries. But right now, more and more people have their own solar panel, they're producing their own energy, and they have their own 3D printing machines. So they will be producing in the future their own products. We won't need factories and manufacturing plants anymore. That's technological conversion leading us towards disruption. And we're seeing this disruption in several different landscapes, okay? Any industry is being impacted by this transformation. This is real estate, this is manufacturing plants, 3D printing, industrial wearables, AI and IoT. Every company is being disrupted by this new technological conversions. And we understand that, and we build companies that are 10x startups and all this with this concept of the exponential organizations. And this company, we're going to deep dive on it during the upcoming webinar events. So right now I'll move to, oh wait, I stopped sharing. So I'll move to Miro, the board here. My friends from Magic are going to send you the link for those of you who registered, those that are here on Zoom. They'll send you the link for the Miro board. And the first thing, you probably come to the Miro board. It's basically a digital whiteboard where you have several different tools here. You have like Post-its and all this. But the first goal that you have for this week, so we can see each other on the upcoming week for the next session, is to go to this area inside the board. It's the first area that you are going to see, and you take one of those round dots here, and you move towards the skills that you need to improve the most. That's basically it. It's a basic, very simple voting system that we're doing here. Okay, but also this platform is a gift for you, where you are going to dive a little bit on the concept of the exponential organizations, which we're going to deep dive on the framework on the next session. And on the other two sessions, we're going to deep dive in each one of those attributes inside the EXO framework. But you have several videos here. So you can come here, closer here. You click here, you have a video of me explaining the EXO framework. And then you can move outside here and you're going to get here, you have the MTP, which is the first principle or the first attribute for exponential organizations. So here you have an activity, an example of the activity, you have a video explaining the concept and the activity. So you can move along the board to understand the EXO framework. And you see each attribute has its own content around it. The videos are here. You don't even have to go outside onto YouTube to watch it. You know that just click here and the video starts, so you can watch it here. And you have the activities here for you to first understand. And throughout the upcoming sessions, I'll be explaining how you can actually do the exercises. Then we're proposing you guys like a course by the end of this series of webinars and all this. Now, for you to have a better experience inside this board, I recommend you, if you're still looking at my screen, to go here on the left. We have this menu, right? The list of features of this platform. And in the bottom, you have these two little arrows, okay? And when you click on those two little arrows, you have another menu here with several different features. And the first feature is called frames. When you click on frames, you have this list of organization that I made. It's kind of like modules inside a course. So you go to the frames and you click here, it will highlight that frame for you. And this, in this way, using the frames concept, you can actually move here just like it was a course, and in the order that I believe is the best for you to learn the concepts of the exponential organization. So here you go from DMTP towards community. And why is that? I explain inside the video. And then from community, you have this activity, and then you have this other video to understand another concept. And then you go here and you understand a little bit more. And then you have the background content for you to understand even better the concept of community, how you can build peer-to-peer economy, tribes, new power, and all this new things. And okay, good. We understand communities, so we come to algorithms, okay? And what does algorithms mean? So you have this first part, and then you have this second part talking about sales funnel and customer journeys and all this. Then you move to interfaces, and you start by watching the videos. Then you move to the customer journey and the case of and financial. Then you go to another activity, and so on and so forth. So the best way to navigate on this platform is actually using this frames concept, okay? You can watch the video. If you click here, you cannot like move closer. If you start watching the video, you cannot move closer. Now that you have some all the problems over there. So I always recommend that you start by giving some, doing some zooming in the platform, okay? And then you click on the video so you can watch it a little bit larger, which would be better for you.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some replies. So thank you so much. And Harold, amazing presentation. I mean, I've been listening in from the beginning, and I'm of course very intrigued by technology and all of that. And I think we've covered most of the part where, you know, talks about technology and building the product itself for the startups. First of all, I want to thank everyone for staying so long, and we're going to have more exciting things coming up. And so, like I said, Harold talked about more of the production side of things, the technology side of things, and how you get it kickstarted within your startups. So I come in where, you know, once you have the product, once you, you know, have that integrations done, it's where you market it to your customers. How do you delight your customers? And that's where I come in. And thanks Magic for working very well with us. And they've been working constantly with us, going back and forth, and you know, organizing this as well. So thanks for that. I don't have much time. I have about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm just going to keep this presentation really short so that you know, you just get the gist of it. And any questions post that, I'm happy to take it over email or LinkedIn. I'm just a ping away. So just quick introductions. My name is Amrita, and I'm handling startup partnerships at Freshworks. I handle partnerships for the regions with ASEAN community, ANZ, as well as the entire APAC region. So it's been really good so far. And before I get into what is in it for the startups here, I would just like to say a little bit about Freshworks so you have that context for those who don't know about Freshworks. So I'm just going to quickly jump into that. Yeah, so Freshworks is a customer support software company with about 10 different products, where we have everywhere from Freshworks CRM, we have a chat widget, we have a caller widget, we have a HRMS software, we have a customer success software. So everything you need for a startup company to kind of go to the next level, we kind of provide support there. So we were founded in 2010. So it's been about a good journey for us so far. And we've had a rapid growth compared to a couple of other companies that started along with us, like Twilio, Slack, and a couple of others. And yeah, overall, we're just kind of growing our way. If there's any questions any time of this presentation, please drop them in the chat. Maybe in the last 4 to 5 minutes, I will pick that up and answer all your questions. I'm sorry that I don't have much time to do this, but I'll try to squeeze in it as much as possible. So quickly moving on to what I have in store for you. So we have this program called Freshworks for Startups within the Freshworks company. And what the part of the program is about how many steps we take for a value add that we give for the startups. It's a global program where we give access to resources, mentorships, credits as well. So in partnership with Magic, Freshworks is offering credits. We offer $10,000 in credits for the startups who come on board with us, and of course Magic as well. And with this $10,000 in credits, you can use the products absolutely for free, depending on the number of agents, of course. Like for example, if you need one user, the product's usage is going to last longer. So the reason we provide this is because we see, I think there's close to about 5,000 startups or so who've come in through the program and who've kind of really scaled their way. I think to name a few, specifically there's A-Star, there is Fabuleo, there is I know Swiggy, Zomato from India. So there's about 5,000 startups that's kind of grown their way with the program, and we kind of want to extend the same opportunity to you as well. So that is one part of what we do with the program. Second is, of course, the mentorship and resources that we provide for all the startups that come on board with us. So when I say mentorship, I mean like anything from providing knowledge sharing sessions. If you want to connect to any particular investment VC across the globe, we kind of facilitate that as well. If you need funding help, we help you with there. A couple of startups come and tell us that we don't want the credits, but we want to kind of use your network. So we try to facilitate that as well. So anywhere we can help the startups, we do, and it's absolutely a value add for us. There is no transaction involved per se. So that's kind of the idea of the program. Once you kind of adopt with Freshworks and kind of scale with us, only then when you see value, only then you start becoming a subscribed customer. So until then, all of this is a complete value add for you. And of course, just driving quickly deeper into that. So this is where I get a lot of questions usually. So I'll make this as simple as I possibly can. So there is about 10 different products, 10 to 12 different products at Freshworks that offers, delight to your customers, to your customers itself. So we've kind of handpicked about 7 to 8 different products and kind of put it as a startup package where we offer the credits. So it's going to be very relevant products for any startup to grow. So for customer acquisitions, you have products like the CRM, which takes care of sales, marketing. You have Fresh Chat and Caller that takes care of, marketing your campaigns to provide that initial support for your customers. And second tier, we have customer experience products that, will give you a high score in, providing the best customer experience for your, customers. I know that Harold as well told so much about giving the best customer experience. Otherwise, company doesn't work out. And operational excellence matters a lot as well, keeping your employees happy, as well as, aligning your internal resources is absolutely critical. So we've kind of handpicked all of this and put it in our startup program, and we're offering $10,000 on all of these products, split across these products. And so if any of this seems interesting to you, or you don't understand it but you want to know more, of course, feel free to ping me anytime. I'm pretty open to discussions and collaborations and all of that. So along with this benefit, you also have what is called as white glove onboarding, where I know a couple of folks from Malaysia. They know Freshworks, but they probably don't know how to use the products or how to get started. Or they say, hey, I want to provide the best customer experience, but I don't know what products would work best for me. So in that case, we have a team, that works with you to check how, what kind of company you are, and sets like one-on-one. They handhold you through the entire process and gets you set up. So that's kind of what we call as white glove onboarding. And finally, I just want to quickly wrap this up. So finally, we have the mentorship and resources. This is kind of like my personal favorite, because this doesn't have anything to do with much from the startups part or startups founders part. So what we do is, like I said, we conduct a lot of knowledge sharing sessions. I think every week we have about 2 closed event sessions, and we have about 2 global events. It's always happening, right? So we kind of want to involve the Magic's community of startups as well. So because we've been doing it so well throughout the globe, and we kind of want to spread our way in the Ashran community as well. And like I said, when I was talking to the Magic community, they said, absolutely welcome to share these credits on the products. And I'm happy to be here as well to, give you this opportunity. So when I say knowledge sharing sessions and webinars and all of that, I also want to bring in the aspect of connecting you with the right investors, the right startups for collaborations and all of that. So while we're on these lines, we have a VC Connect coming up. Freshworks is hosting a VC Connect, an Ashran VC Connect this September 24th. And I've obviously invited the Magic team to be part of it, and they've accepted. I'm very happy about that. So if any of the startup founders want to, participate in that event, I'm happy to send you an invite. Just reach out to me, and you can come on the platform, and you will be able to network with the VCs one-on-one, or collaborate with other founders which are like-minded or which work on the same vertical as you. So I hope that, kind of sums it up as well. So quickly, just moving on to the different companies that have grown with Freshworks. These are, globally, other than the startup program, we have about 50,000 customers with us currently, and we're absolutely growing at a fast pace. So that's kind of just like an overview of what the company is about and the impact that we have. And like you can see on the screen, we have these many partners, and slightly more actually. We have about 60 partners now in the Ashran region. I've kind of handpicked the ones that we work very closely with. And like, of course, on the left side, you can see Magic community as well. So most of these partners will be, participating in the VC Connect. So if you want some introductions to them, or if you want to connect with them one-on-one, you can just maybe drop me an email, and I'm happy to introduce you to any of these investors. So I'm happy to do that. So finally, I just want to thank all of you for staying, and I'm just going to quickly drop. I think Iswan already dropped the perks where you can sign up. So it's a simple sign up sheet. If you just click on the link, you'll be able to see different product names, as well as different sign up questions that you may have. So if you have any questions, just email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to take it forward, but I'm just going to stop here so that I can take some questions right now.